Hello and welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on wherever you are joining us from. If you can hear me, I would request you to type hashtag live or type hi so that we are sure that there are no sound glitches or technical. Today we are back with another episode of Meet the Coach, and I am really excited for this episode. I have an amazing coach who has more than 35 years of experience in the corporate and 19 years of coaching experience. He's somebody who helped busy solopreneurs and small business owners who are struggling to get the bottom line results that they want. And he has an exciting claim that he's been doing for his client. And I won't be sharing that right now because I would want him to talk about that. But just allow me to introduce him and add him to this stream. Please welcome Mr. John Allen. Hey, John, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, sir, and thank you. I'm glad to be on your show, and thank you for the opportunity to share it with your audience.
Well, it's an honor to have you here. It's always amazing to learn and have guests have so much experience. So I'm really looking for an amazing experience today.
Well, I hope I can deliver it for you, sir.
I am sure about that. So, so John, can you tell us a bit about how your journey has been, how you got started, and what do you do?
Sure. I was a workaholic when I was in corporate, 12, 14, 16 hours a day, 6, 7 days a week. And I had, wife and son, they were getting neglected. And I guess the big man upstairs figured I wasn't paying enough attention to them because December 4th, 2000, I ended up having a major brain aneurysm. And in that I was given less than a 10% chance to live. And if I did live, the odds were 85% against me having any kind of a normal life. So that was a major wake-up call. And after spending 5.5 weeks in the hospital, when I was on my way home, I was living in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. We were going over the South Saskatchewan River, and I looked up and I made the big guy a promise that if he would let me live, I would spend the rest of my life helping small business owners get the most out of their business. The reason I made the big guy this promise was at that time, my wife had a small business. It was like everybody else's, up, down, up, down. You couldn't rely on the profit, and a lot like businesses today, right? You're not sure where it's coming from. So I decided that it was time I smartened up and decided that I would help her. So I helped her get her business on level footing and making money. And a few of my friends with different businesses saw me and said, hey, can you help me? That's how I basically got into the coaching end of it. Now, I'd been doing coaching for the corporate, but I'd never thought of doing it for myself. So I did it part-time from 2002 until 2009. My wife passed away in 2009. So I decided to move from Saskatchewan back to Ontario, where I was from. I wanted to be closer to my parents, my kids, and my grandkids. I get back here that same year. My mother and father both pass away, and both my kids move out west. So I said, nobody likes me. I got to do something here. So I started the coaching business. And at that time, Ford was closing down here and a lot of other big industries. There was 15,000 people lost their jobs here in a short time. So I figured, I got the cat by the tail here. I'm in the right place. I couldn't get a client in southwestern Ontario to save my soul. I could get them in the US, Australia, New Zealand, Yugoslavia, Western Canada. I couldn't get a client here, like I said, to save my soul. But it did teach me one thing, that the money in these other places was just as good as the money here. So that's how I started building my coaching business. And I've gone on to work with a lot of people since then. And I've had a lot of success stories. And like everybody else, I'd like to say everybody was a success, but no, they're not. You know, some people don't want to do what they're supposed to or what they're being asked to, and they don't get the results. But the results for the people that want to do the work, they've had incredible results. And one of the things, I know you alluded to it before, and I'll share more about it at the end, but I have a computer system called the profit analysis system. I'd like to say I invented it, but I didn't. You know, that's far above my pay grade. What this system does, there's 12 areas that we walk a small business owner through. And in that, I can find virtually any small business owner an additional $100,000 in revenue in 45 minutes without them having to spend an additional dollar on marketing or revenue. Now,
Wow.
that's a pretty big promise to make. And I've been able to do it every time so far. Now, will there be a case that I can't? Who knows? But so far, I've been 100% on. So if any of your listeners want to get involved in that, they can contact me at www.allen, smallbusinesscoaching.com and register for that. The other part with this program is there's no cost for it. This is my way of giving back to the small business community to help people get back on their feet. Because let's face it, COVID has kicked the crap out of a lot of people all over the world.
Yeah.
And, you know, so this is my way of giving back. The other thing that happens is people say, well, how do I make money out of it? That's easy. Some of the people after I've done it said, can you help me? Then and only then will I talk about it. But other than that, there's nothing for sale. And unless that person is interested in having my help, they get the roadmap and they're on their own. I hope that answers your questions.
Yeah, I will come to this, but before that, I'd like to. I mean, you've shared an amazing, inspiring story about how your personal experiences shaped your journey, and obviously, you've shared that you've gone through quite a bit of experiences, good and bad, in this journey. I mean, like you mentioned that your wife passed away, your parents passed away, and your children moved out. So my question is, what is it, or at least one thing, that kept you going, or that helped you in your success? Something that you would want to give as a tip to those who are watching this and who are having a similar journey.
That's easy. Don't give up. And, you know, if you think of the words of Sir Winston Churchill in World War II, never, never, never give up. Just because one door closes, that doesn't, another one will open. Don't spend so much time looking at the closed door that you miss the one that opens before you. You know, and right after I got out of the hospital, I read the book. It's only a little book, and it says, don't sweat the small stuff. Everything is small stuff. Now, if you think of going from a workaholic down to just 8 hours a day, like I was having withdrawal symptoms. And I had to learn that, hey, the whole world doesn't revolve around John as much as I thought it did, like I think it did, but it didn't. And when I cut back and learned that everything doesn't have to be done today, that was a really big lesson for me to learn. And anybody that's out there, especially going through all the stress and everything else, you know, just remember the big guy doesn't make any junk. And as far as I'm concerned, there's no human being on this earth that is junk. I don't care what color, creed, nationality, country you're from. We are all great 100% people, and everybody deserves the same chance. So, you know, never give up on yourself. Everybody else around you may be giving up on you, but don't give up on yourself, because things are neither good or bad out there. They're good or bad in here. And if you don't have your head screwed on straight, the world could be perfect and it's not going to work out for you. You have to see it in your mind before you can actually see it materialize for you. I hope that's kind of a tip people can use and take with them.
Wow, these are golden nuggets, I would say. I mean, you said don't give up. I mean, not only on things that you're doing, but especially not on yourself. And it's more about, I mean, when one door closed, there are so many others, so you need to keep going.
But,
And I really love what you said. It's that everything is over here, and that is actually the key. Thank you so much for sharing this.
You're most welcome. And most people, when they go into business for themselves, or even if they've been into business, things aren't working right. They run around like chickens with their head cut off, rather than sitting down and saying, okay, what worked before?
Yeah.
What's not working now? Take a look at what's actually working and what's not working. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, you can learn as much or more from your failures than you can from your successes. And
exactly, that's so true.
You know, everybody says, oh, just go out there and fake it till you make it. To me, that's a crock. And the reason I say that is because you have to believe it yourself. If you don't believe yourself that you're that success, nobody else is going to believe you.
Yeah, that's true. It's all about how you are taking action and taking responsibility. And like you said, it's all about believing in yourself. That decides everything. So one thing that you mentioned earlier, that most of the small businesses, they are struggling because of COVID. And I believe you're in Canada, and this is one of those places where they have quite a lot of restriction. So how did it affected your business, and what did you do to make sure that you actually pivot, or it didn't affect you at all?
The good thing that I learned, because of nobody wanted to hire me in Ontario when I moved here, right? When I learned about Zoom, I started doing all my business on Zoom. And even when I had local clients, I wouldn't go meet them in person. I do everything over Zoom. So Zoom or programs like it have been a total savior for me. Now, the other thing that's really helped my business and the whole coaching industry in general is because of the lockdowns, business owners have had more chance they've been at home or whatever, right? They've had more chance to start to work on their business instead of just in it. And what they're doing is they've been willing to take a look and learn different things, because business owners have realized that they've got to do things differently now than they were a year ago. One of the biggest things that happened for a lot of businesses, and I'm sure it's the same all over the world, when this COVID first hit, they said, well, we'll just close for the 2 weeks or the month, and then we'll open up and all our clients and customers will come back to us. Well, I don't know about over where you are, but customers seem to have a short memory. And now when businesses start to open again, there's going to be a ton of sales and offers and everything else all over the place. So what are you, as that small business owner, what are you doing to stay in touch with your prospects, clients, customers, so that you build that fence around them, so that they're not going looking to these other companies when businesses start to open? And depending if you're in parts of the US, a lot of those are opening. So what are you doing to keep those customers, clients, or patients coming back to you instead of going somewhere else? This is where you need to have a good, solid reason. And the reason being isn't you, okay? You have to figure out what's the favorite radio station of everybody on this planet is WIIFM. What's in it for me? You have to answer that question for your customers or prospects, because they don't care what you do or how you do it until they know how much you care and that you answer what's in it for them. That is the biggest thing that people have to look at. And I'll give you a quick example. I don't know, in the US and Canada, they got these dumb insurance company ads. And there's one in particular that has this emu and the guy drives an old yellow car. What the heck does that have to do with insurance? What they're using it as is a gimmick and hope that when you want to buy insurance, geez, you'll think of this dumb commercial and you'll come and see us. They don't put anything in there of a benefit for the prospect or the client. Another one that most people are aware of is when they fly the Goodyear blimp over all the big football games in the US. Goodyear is smart enough to realize that because people see the blimp, they're not going to buy their tires. What Goodyear's hoping to do is that you'll remember the good time you had at that football game, and that'll bring the Goodyear blimp to mind. Now, I don't know if you'd ever buy tires for that reason. What if they talked about the safety, protecting your family? And there's one of the ads they show a smashed up car and how the safety features of the car saved a little girl. That is more getting to the point of what's in it for the customer than picture of a Ford truck or a GM or a Dodge or whatever other flavor vehicle you want, right? But you have to answer what's in it for that person. What's going to make that person want to buy your products or service? Why should they do business with you opposed to anyone else, right? And if you can't answer that question, and another big thing is people think they have to compete on price. If you stop to look at it, price is usually fourth or fifth down on a person's level when they go to buy something. Could I get you to role play with me for about 2 minutes? I want to show you something about price.
Sure.
Hey, do you drive the cheapest car that's out there?
Sorry, I couldn't get it.
Do you drive the cheapest car that's out there?
Yeah, I did that.
No. Right now, do you drive the cheapest car out there?
No.
So price was important, but you wanted some of the other luxuries and other features that, the vehicle had, right?
Yeah.
So this is what I'm saying. So price wasn't your biggest issue. Do you quit buying gas for your car when gas goes up?
I do buy it, yeah. Because I need.
You buy it regardless, right?
Yeah.
So price isn't the biggest issue for gas, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you quit buying groceries when groceries go up?
No, it is going up, but
Right.
you're still buying it.
Yeah. So then again, price isn't your biggest issue, right?
Exactly.
You want the best. People want the best value for the money they pay.
Yeah.
That's what you need to promote. You need to promote value. If you just work on price, you'll be scraping the bottom of the barrel because somebody could always beat your price. But when you sell off of value and provide value for the people, this is where you can set your own price and people will gladly pay it.
Yeah.
People will pay twice as much for 4 times the perceived value.
That's so true. And I always see this, what's in it for me, but I always add what matters the most to them.
Yep.
It's more about, I could think of anything as maybe benefiting my client, but I need to be sure if it matters to them or if it is something that is keeping them up at night and I'm able to help them with. So you need to make sure that whatever that you are thinking of providing them, it adds value. So I think the commercial examples that you shared, I think it's more about what the company was thinking, maybe the people need, but it wasn't solving any problem.
No, and that's why these companies keep going through all these different stuff because it's not working and they hope that the next branding attempt or whatever they want to call it will bring them business. So, and what you said is very true. You have to concentrate on what's keeping that person awake at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
The other thing that people don't realize is they try to solve the person's problem, but that the individual may not know what the problem is, but what is their symptoms?
Yeah.
The person, your prospect or client or customer, they look at the symptoms they're having. Yes, you need to solve that underlying problem. But when you talk to them about the symptoms, because that's the part they're concentrating on, right? It's like
Yeah.
going to the doctors. You got a sore finger, and he takes your finger and wiggles it. You might holler or smack him or something, but your whole thing is you're looking at that sore finger. You're not looking at, hey, maybe there's a broken bone. Right now, you're just looking at the symptom. So you have to get to the bottom of it. And you do that by asking good questions.
That's so
The
true.
other, if you don't ask good questions, here's another quick point. The person who's asking the questions is the person who's in charge of the interview. So there's one to always keep in mind, because the other thing is, rather than making a statement, if you just make a statement, it goes right over the person's head. They don't have to pay any attention to it. But if you ask them a question, your brain will automatically stop to answer it. That's why, and that also keeps your audience attention.
Yeah.
Because if you're just going blah, 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 instead of you asking questions, you start asking questions and, oh God, they're looking for an answer. I got to pay attention here. That'll really help you stand out as well.
Yeah. It reminds me of something that one of my mentor taught me earlier in my career, that the one who asks good questions is the one who sits on the driving seat and he has the control. And I mean, even in job interviews and situations like these, even if the candidate is someone who steer the conversation in a way where he's asking questions, so it's like he has more advantage.
So true. So true.
Yeah.
The other thing that your listeners may want to pay attention to is follow-ups. Most businesses will only follow up once, maybe twice. If you put together what I call a drip campaign, which is regular messages going out to your clients. I'm not talking about sending people 3-4 messages a day, because all that does is hit delete and garbage. If you send somebody a message every 5 days or so, you follow up, you can increase your sales by up to 40%.
Yeah.
So
there was this stat that one of my coach shared a few months ago when I was working with her, that according to that stat or research, almost 80% of the sales closes after between 5 to 12 interaction. So it really depends on the kind of follow-up that you're doing.
And actually that 5 to 12 is getting closer to 20, simply because with the computer and the way that we get information today,
yeah,
it's so easy. You get an email or a tweet or whatever to go click and it's gone. So the big thing there when you're sending out any messages is this, I call the marketing equation. Your headline has to attract their attention. Okay, if your headline of your message doesn't get their attention, they're not going to read it. The subheadline has to hint at the answer to the problem that you mentioned in your headline. Then in your body, you go through and explain why you're the best to deal with. And then the fourth part is you always need a call to action in everything you do. Because if you just end it with, okay, I'm John Allen, and there's no call to action, so what? People aren't going to go looking for you.
Yeah, that's so true. It has to be a complete structured approach. And I totally agree that most of the time, people don't give any call to action.
No. And again, look at the ads on TV. What call to action is there on any of those ads? The other thing is, if any of your viewers are looking for a great way to get a free education in copywriting, take a look at all the junk mail that arrives in your mailbox and all the junk mail that arrives in your email. Go through, pick out the headlines you like, and then write them down, or the junk mail, but save them and write down why you like that headline. Look at the subheadline and all that. The neat part of it is, on a lot of this junk mail, people have paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to get this stuff produced. They'll give you a free education on how to write great copy.
Yeah,
So,
that's so true. So, well, I'm really enjoying, and I know, I mean, we can go on and on, but I mean, before we close, I'd like to share the name of the system that you shared earlier. It's called the Profit Acceleration System,
correct.
and you can see this on your screen. There's a link, like John said. It's smallbusinesscoaching.com. What we'll do is, because we are streaming this live on Facebook, I'll add John on that. I'll tag you there, John, and I request that if you can share this link over there.
Sure.
And if there is any other way people can contact you or reach out to you beside adding you on Facebook, you can share that over there. And by the way, as John mentioned, this whole system, there's no investment. It's free. It's just that you need to spend 40 to 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's 45 minutes. I ask people for an hour. And the reason for the hour is if there's any questions. And what we do is go through and show you where this money is. And like I say, there's nothing for sale. And I do have a real heavy close at the end, and it's all shared here now. This one might shake up your audience. It's, would you like my help? That's it. That's the heaviest sales close you'll hear. And so, if you call that an arm twister, well, I guess I got a big arm twister there.
Well, thank you so much for that. I think this really shows that how much value you are adding, especially in times like these. So I'm really inspired. And I once again thank you for taking the time out and joining us for this. I'm sure the audience who will even watch this on replay, they will love it. And I highly encourage you to reach out to John. He's amazing when it comes to adding value. We've been interacting for a few months, and each interaction, I learn a lot. I really don't want to close it, John, today, but I understand and I respect your time and schedule. So, any parting words before you leave?
Well, thank you for the privilege of being on your show, and I've really enjoyed it, and hope this helps your listeners. And if there's any of your listeners I can help, like I said, the reason for the no charge is it's my way to give back to the business community to help us get over this COVID crap.
Yeah, so I guess, I mean, especially small business owners, please reach out to John. I'll tag him on the thread where we are streaming this on Facebook, so you can connect with him and have a discussion with him. So till then, have fun, enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.